get started with the info session. And so most of the information I'm going to show you will be very somewhat general, and then hopefully you'll have questions. I think most of it is Q&A. I'll try to provide some more details that maybe is not something you could heard before, either from me or from website or other form of communication. So we're here to talk about the 2023 Andrews University Pitch Competition. Just some basic stuff. Who can participate? Any student at Andrews University is welcome to participate, undergrad and graduate students. It says attending on campus, however, that restriction is mostly because the actual competition requires people to be here to present in front of a judging panel. I did have someone who is mostly an online student, but she said she's planning on coming to present, in front of the live judging panel. So really, it's also open to some of our online students if they're also interested and are able to come. There's no requirements in terms of your major or GPA, and some previous participants, they're allowed to apply again and allowed to get an award except first place. You can only apply one time per person. So if you are part of a team application, that's it, that's your one application. But you can choose whether to be by yourself or as part of the team. But you have to choose one or the other. And also it's available for international students. So what do you need to do to apply? So let me just go to our website. So if you go to andrews.edu/innovation, and there you can, in the menu, find pitch competition page. And there are two things you need to apply. The first one is to complete a form. You click there on the webpage. It will take you to a form application where most of the information is just general contact info, who you are, if you're an international student or not. We need to know that ahead of time for tax purposes. So that's the application form. It's very simple, and part of the form is that you submit your slide presentation as part of your form. So don't try to submit the application if you don't have your PowerPoint presentation ready, right? Because it's going to ask you to do it, and then if you cannot upload it at that moment, then you can't submit the application. But the good news is that you don't need to pre-submit the application ahead of time or anything else until the actual deadline on March 17th. And then the second thing you need to include with your application is the pitch deck or the slide deck. And we have a template that you can follow. So by following means that you can change the colors, you can change the arrangement of the titles, etc. You can add images, pictures, even embedded videos, if that works for you. You can do any of those things. The only thing you cannot do is to modify the number of slides, right? So it's only 9 slides max. You cannot have more than 9 slides, okay? If you go over 9 slides, your application is gonna be rejected, okay? We may contact you and say, hey, you made a mistake, maybe you wanna, fix it really quick. If we see that someone really put in the work and we don't want to disqualify them completely based on just maybe they went over 1 slide, we'll reach out and see if that can be fixed. And really quick, to go over this, there's a title slide. Then you define your problem or opportunity that you're trying to solve. What's the problem? Who has the problem? And how is that relatable, to your audience? Mostly so the audience can understand what exactly you're talking about. Then you present your solution. What is the product or service that you have that addresses that problem? Okay, you don't need to go into the financial aspects of your business, not yet, but here is just problem solution. So try to be very clear about your problem and solution. That really is going to help the judges understand what you're talking about. If you're like, oh, I think this is cool, to have an app that can do this, the judges will be like, what's the problem you're solving, right? Because that's not clear, the rest of your presentation really falls to the ground because no one's gonna buy it. If you're not solving a problem, why would people use this solution? Okay? Then next after that is marketing strategy. So for those of you who are not familiar with the term marketing, sometimes people use marketing to mean advertising. This is not what that means. Marketing is much broader than just advertising. Advertising is a part of marketing, but marketing is understanding who is your ideal customer, right? Is it 20-year-olds that live in the US and that they have a job, young professionals? Is that your ideal customer? Okay, then that's what you need to tell the judges. What's the total market size? Okay, let's say your market is young professionals in the US. How many young professionals are in the US, right? 100 million? Okay, 100 million. And let's say your idea is a new type of a mop for them to use in their house, right? Okay, so how much do people spend on cleaning supplies every year, right? Let's say the average person spends $100 on cleaning supplies every year. Okay, so if there are $100 that each person spends on cleaning supplies, and there are 100 young professionals, you multiply those two numbers, 100 million young professionals, you multiply those two numbers, and that's your total market size, right? So what's 100 million times $100? 10 billion. So that's your market size, $10 billion. Okay, so that's how you calculate it. Usually market size, you can say in terms of people, but it's better if you say it in terms of amount, right? Because that you're talking about a business plan, a business idea. So if you tell the judges, my total market size is $10 billion, they'll be like, oh, okay. And then from that total market size, you're gonna capture a segment of that population, and that's how your business is gonna be viable, right? That's your marketing strategy. Yes?
Could you say one more time? It was the amount of people times
how much that people spend on the type of product you're creating.
Okay.
And you can be broad, because I mean sometimes trying to get to very niche numbers on how much do people spend on mops every year. Right? Maybe that data is not available. I don't know. Depends your searching skills. But maybe just cleaning supplies. How much do people spend on that? Maybe that data is more readily available. Right? Okay. And then the third bullet point there is how do you plan to attract customers? Right? Are you going to do a social media campaign? Are you going to talk with Home Depot so you can sell your mops at every Home Depot and Walmart? Like, how are you going to get customers? And really, that can be very broad as well because you're just getting started. You don't know exactly if that's going to work, but you have to tell us what your plan is or would be, right? We just want to know if you have thought about it, if there's some sort of plan for that. Next slide is revenue model. How are you going to make or get money? Right? If it's a product, you're going to sell the product. But not necessarily. Maybe you have more of a subscription model, right? Maybe you give away the mops for free, but then what's the name of that mop that you buy? The Swiffer. And then you buy all the Swiffer things, wipes that you put under your mop to clean. You only buy the mop once, and then people keep buying the Swiffer wipes, right? So maybe that's how you're gonna make money. Revenue forecast, how much money you think you'll make on a yearly basis? Again, if you say, well, I think we can sell 1,000 every month of these mops. When we get started, we're gonna start slow, maybe 100 a month, and then we'll grow over years, right? We want to know what do you think could be possible? Yes.
Is that subtracting for production costs or no?
No. So revenue is just what you get, like your gross income, and then you mention also total estimated expenses. That's where you say, well, this is how much it's gonna cost to manufacture, to sell, to distribute, shipping. You can estimate those numbers and say, well, I'm gonna make this much, 100 million, and then we'll spend 50 million on expenses. Therefore, our profit could be 50 million, on a yearly basis. Right? So the judges will want to see, is this a viable business? Right? Can money be made through this? Now, the numbers again are gonna be rough. The judges will look at them, maybe question those numbers. You gotta have some sort of justification why those numbers. If you did some research as to your market size, etc., then you should know those things or put them on the slide as well and say, well, this is why I think we could make this much money. Okay. The next slide is competition. This is not too hard to understand. You're just going to describe who your competitors are and what makes you different. Okay. Now, when you think of competition, don't think that there's another company that has a product exactly like yours, right? Because sometimes the competition can be nothing at all, right? For example, if going back to the mop product, maybe when Swiffer first launched their business, there was no other Swiffer. They were just regular mops. That was their competition. The competition was people would just keep doing what they're doing, right? And you have to make sure that you understand why they will switch from what they're doing to what you want them to do. Okay? Traction and milestones. This is essentially where you are currently. Do you have a prototype? Do you have some sort of drawing that you can show? Do you have a partner? Where are you on this development? And then timeline of next steps is where do you want to go? What do you want to do for the next 2 to 3 years? And how funds would be used, right? So you say, well, this is where we are. Next step, we want to build a prototype, which means we're going to need funding for that, right? So that's how you're telling the judges how the funds would be used. Then team, who's part of your team? What experience do they have in terms of product development, maybe in terms of app, software development, depending what you're doing, in terms of business, knowledge, experiences, etc. Why is it that your team is the right one for this? And if you don't have a team, and if just you can also describe what type of team members you're gonna try to get. For example, if you're developing an app, you can say, we're planning on hiring a software developer, or finding a partner who knows a lot about software because I know about it, etc. Right? You want to tell the judges that you understand that you cannot do everything by yourself, right? And who needs to be part of your team, you should know that. And finally, you can have a final slide where you summarize what you said. To remind the judges why they need to pick you, why they need to choose you, and then you need to tell them how your venture will change the world. Okay, that's part of our Andrews University culture, world changer. So you need to tell the judges, this is how this could change the world. Okay. Now, I think you understand that when I say change the world, doesn't mean that the whole world is going to purchase your innovation and completely revolutionize the world overnight. I mean, your world can be a specific area, geographically speaking. Okay. So that's the slide presentation. Any questions on that?
Is the only restriction 9 slides?
Is that the only restriction?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, keep in mind, well, maybe to answer your question, keep in mind that the judges are going to, they're going to have a rubric, and they're going to look, that rubric says team, right? Did he mention any experience? Did he mention why is your team the right one? Did he highlight team members? So they're gonna go through the rubric and look if you included the content. So the content that you see on those bullet points, that's what you need to include. Everything else, you have the creative freedom to change it.
How long is the presentation?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Okay.
7 minutes presentation, 5 minutes for questions.
Got it.
Okay. All right, so you'll submit both of those things by March 17 at 7 p.m. That's the Friday before Thanksgiving, spring break. Okay. So, like I said, all presentations will be judged according to the rubric. Last year we had a separate category for nonprofit and for-profit. This year we're combining them together. Okay, so you will be competing against both type of presentations. There are some differences, which is why we separated them last year. But because we are a small school and there's a limited amount of funding, it's a lot easier to just put everyone in the same category. Okay. Every team that applies, every person that applies will get to present at least once. Semifinals on March 29. So that's Wednesday. So throughout the day, you're gonna be emailed and said, show up at this location. You're gonna present in front of a panel of judges. 7-minute presentation, 5 minutes Q&A. They will evaluate you, and then based on that, you're gonna be told if you move on to the finals, which is on Friday the 31st. Only 8 teams move on to the final events on Friday. Yes.
Well, we need to spell out if we're for-profit or not.
I think it would be good that when you talk about your revenue, how you're gonna make money, that you mention we're for profit and this is how we're gonna make money. Or if you say we're non-profit, again, if you're a non-profit, you also need to say how are you gonna get money. Maybe you'll sell something, but at the same time, maybe you get donors, or grants from foundations. However that is, you're gonna need money to operate, right? So you have to tell the judges how you're gonna do that. So the 8 teams that participated at the finals, they'll present at the Howard on Friday, March 31st. We'll announce the awards right after. It really doesn't take us a long time after the final presentation because we are tallying up the points throughout the whole event. We have people running back and forth doing that. And then once the final presenter finishes, we grab those papers, we tally up the points, and we already know the results. And we'll announce them right away, and then we'll move on to the lobby for a reception. Yes?
So, are we presenting this the same or a different presentation at the semifinals and then the finals?
So you will present the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it will be the same presentation. There's really isn't much you can do between Wednesday and Friday. I mean, maybe you can modify it, but it'll be hard for us to receive new PowerPoints and make sure we don't have the old one instead of the new one.
Right.
So maybe you can change how you present, your style and what you say, but the slides themselves are gonna stay the same.
Okay.
So again, in terms of awards, is $30,000 in cash. Awards distributed to the finalists, a few of the finalists. We don't take any equity or ownership into your business or nonprofit. And then the only thing you have to do to receive the cash is to meet with me. We'll discuss your budget, your planned budget, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Now, there's something added this year, which is the Social Innovation Award. Now, that one may not apply to everyone. It's very specific, and this is an additional money on top of the 30,000. So you have 30,000 distributed, and then you have an additional 10,000 from, this comes from the Masters in Social Innovation program here at Andrews. And they receive a grant, and they want to be able to give this grant to 2 student companies, $5,000 each, that are doing a project, a social innovation project in Berrien County, specifically. So if you're not doing social innovation project in Berrien County, don't worry about it, this is not for you. If you maybe are doing something related to social innovation, you may want to think about whether you can do it in Berrien County first so you can get this grant. And it has to fit within social entrepreneurship, social advocacy, or social services. And if you get this Social Innovation Award, it does not disqualify you for the rest of the money. So you could actually get both. If you have a very good presentation and you win, part of the 30,000, but then you also but your project is also in social innovation in Berrien County, you can get both. Or you can get one or the other. So the really consideration for this award does not change, the other part of the competition. Okay? Any questions on that Social Innovation Award? So a few things to keep in mind. The deadline I already mentioned, March 17, and the other thing is there's another info session on February 21st. If you start working on your presentation, you have more questions, come again February 21st. Different location, but same thing. We'll be here to discuss any questions that you may have. And then the other thing we're doing next week actually is Entrepreneurs Network lunch together. It's at the Student Lounge at Boulder Hall, and it's open to all Andrews students. And really the goal is just to simply eat lunch together, network, meet other Andrews students. If you don't know other people who could be on your team, you're looking for someone to join your team, that's a good place to go and find other people from different walks of life who may want to join. Just a little bit of data, 63% of people in their 20s either own their own business or wanted to someday. So that's a recent survey. So you'll be surprised that a lot of people your age actually are interested in entrepreneurship. They don't always do it because it's not easy, because sometimes you get a job and you go in that direction, which is fine. But stepping out into entrepreneurship requires certain sacrifice in terms of time, financial. But surprisingly, a lot of young people actually want to do it. If you want to join and have lunch, make sure you RSVP for that, so we know you're coming, and we can have lunch ready for you as well. And one last thing, so I know that I know that a lot of people are looking for mentorship, and in terms of you may not know exactly how to do everything to prepare your presentation. So we do have an online community where we have alumni who have their own businesses, who are entrepreneurs, Andrews alumni who are in that online community, and you can join that community free of charge. It's only for exclusive for Andrews, so you're not going to have people from other universities or other businesses joining. And there you can ask questions, you can engage with mentors, you can ask for help. They might engage with you on maybe questions you may have. So think about that. If you want to join, either scan the code or you can email me at innovate@andrews.edu. Really, I just need your email address to add you to this online group. All right, so other questions? So again, if I went through this information too quickly, if you go to our webpage, I try to spell everything out there as well. Oh, I wanted to show you the rubric. The rubric is also actually on our webpage too. And zoom in a little bit. All right, so this is the rubric that the judges are going to have. And they're gonna look at the content of your presentation, and you can get up to 80 points in terms of content. All right, so they're gonna look at the first slide. Your title slide doesn't count, right? But you're gonna look at the first slide after that, problem or opportunity. And they're gonna say, did the presenter explain the problem they're solving clearly? Yes? Okay, they get 10 points. No? You may get all the way down to 1 or 2 points if you don't do a good job at explaining. Or maybe you explained the problem clearly, but you didn't say who has it, right? So you missed part of that, so you lose some points. And so on and so forth, and like I said, the bullet points on that template are key because those bullet points are the content you want to have on your slides. So you get 80 points for your content, and then you get 40 points for your delivery. Right? So we gotta assign some value to your preparedness for the actual presentation. Pitch was engaging. Are you passionate, full of energy, or were you just sitting, standing there, kind of, not too engaging, not too excited about your own idea? I mean, that speaks a lot. Did you have good eye contact, right? I mean, are you able to present in a natural way, or were you just like looking at your notes the whole time, not really even looking at the judges, right? That's not engaging. Did you speak clearly? You use easy to understand language, or you're using these fancy words no one can understand, right? Again, this is a business plan competition, so fancy language is not really needed. Complex language, you want to just simply be able to explain your idea. And where you transitions well between slides, right? Are you telling a story, you're connecting your slides and it's flowing, or are you just simply like switching slides and then just reading the slide, right? That does not engage the judges. And keep in mind, the judges want to be impressed, and they will want to understand what you're talking about more than anything. They have no idea what your business plan is. This is the first time they're hearing about it. And if you do kind of a choppy job, at telling bits and pieces, they're gonna give you some points, right? Because maybe you cover some of the content, but they're gonna be confused, especially in your delivery. You probably won't get much points because you weren't really conveying the message well. Again, this document is on our webpage. You can look at it. You can try to, game it, if you want to. Make sure you have everything in the excellent category and prepare. Okay. I know not everyone is a great presenter, but you have to keep in mind that when you're trying to start a business, you're gonna be doing this all the time. Right? You're gonna be talking with potential investors, potential partners, potential employees. You're gonna go out and tell people about your idea, friends, even family. and you got to be able to convey the message, well enough that people can understand you. So we're trying to copy aspects of the real world, if you wish, into this. That's why we include some points for the actual delivery of the presentation. Okay. That's about all the information I have. Just general information about the competition. Do you guys have any other questions? Maybe something I didn't cover that you wanted to learn more about? Yes.
How many people presented last year, or how many people applied last year?
We had 16 teams applied, and then last year we had 12 teams move to the finals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but this time we're gonna shorten it a little bit because last year was 3 hours, and it was a long time, so we shortened it to 2 hours. 2-hour event this year, so only 8 teams will move on to the finals.
Got it.
Yeah, so there's been some interest. A lot of students have told me they plan on applying. I could say just based on people I have talked to, that's 10 applications. But then there's some that I have no idea about. They haven't talked to me about it, and they might apply. So it's looking like it's going to be a good number. I would say probably between 20 and 30 applications. I would expect this year. We'll see.
And what were the first place is $7,000? Is that right?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about it because there's 2 ways to do it. One way is to give big amounts to few people, and another way is to give smaller amounts to more teams. I lean more towards the smaller amounts to more teams, because even if a team gets $1,000, that may help them get started, with something. So yeah, the first place will be somewhere between 7,000 and 9,000, and then down to like 5, 3, 2 sort of thing. Yes. All right, so go back to the web page, just make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I covered it all. So in terms of taxes, just FYI, the awards you receive are taxable. If you are a U.S. citizen or resident, you're just gonna report that, like you do when you do your taxes the following year. It's just income that you receive. Whether you do your taxes separately or you're a dependent, with your parents, you still need to report it. If you're an international student, it's different. We actually the university has to take the taxes, up front. I believe it's 30%. And then so you only actually get 70% of your award because the 30% goes to taxes directly, right? We had 2 or 3 international teams that won last year, and they knew this ahead of time, but still, it still hurts. It still hurts when the government takes 30%. I mean, everyone has to pay taxes, but domestic students sometimes can use other methods to reduce their taxes, right? If you have expenses, etc. When you're international, they don't even ask if you have expenses; they just take 30%. In terms of patents, so everyone that submits an application, and actually you'll get it even before. So we'll announce this, email, social media. You get access. Everyone who's planning on submitting an application, not even submits. Everyone who's planning on submitting an application, you get access to this platform called Patent Hacks, and it's an educational platform. You can log in, and it walks you step by step on how to prepare and submit a patent application. So if you're concerned and you have a product that you think, I really don't want a lot of people to know about it, first of all, you don't have to give a lot of details. As you notice, your solution slide is only one part, it's only one slide of the presentation. So the only place where you may show drawings, images, or talk about your product is one slide. But if you're still concerned, you don't want anyone to steal your idea, maybe something very groundbreaking and might be easy to steal as well, you may consider submitting a patent application. And again, you're going to receive access to this platform. You can go there, learn how to do a patent application. If you are a small business, or if it's just you, a solo entrepreneur, it costs for a provisional patent, it costs only $79. Okay, so you can submit it. A provisional application means that you have 12 months to convert it into a non-provisional, a full patent, a full application. So that means that you don't have all the things figured out about your product. Maybe you have a few sketches and drawings. You submit a provisional, and then you have 12 months to figure out the details, maybe through testing, maybe through further development. And if you said at the end of the 12 months, if you decide, you know what, I don't want to pursue this anymore, I don't see a future, you just leave it. It dies automatically. But if you do want to pursue it before the 12 months expired, you submit a full application, which is going to cost you more. You may need to work with a lawyer, or this platform maybe can also help you on that. If you want to do it on your own, it's difficult, but you can try it at least to submit the application and work with the patent office. So again, we'll send the access for this website. It has some free resources as well, and it talks about where you can learn more about trademarks if you're interested in that as well. If you develop a logo, something that you can trademark, there's some free resources there, some articles that you can read about what trademarks are and how to obtain one. It's a similar process that a patent is not as long, it's much easier to obtain, but it's the same office, the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Okay, any questions on patents, trademarks, anything that piqued your interest? Okay. All right, well, if there are no questions, we'll close today's session. We'll do the co-curricular. For those of you that need the credit. And then if you want to stick around, if you have other questions, feel free to do so.
What was your participation last year
My participation?
for this program?
We had 16 teams apply, and then we had, and then of those we evaluated them, and then we had 12 move on to the finals event. So we're hoping to grow to maybe 20, 25, 30 teams apply, and then evaluate those through semifinals, and then select 8 for the finals. Yeah, we're gonna be a little bit more selective this year, but that's fine. Comes with the growth. Yes.
So there's comments. I've only attended one pitch competition. I wasn't here, and I have to say your point about clarity of message is one that's well taken, because that was one of the things that stood out for me when I attended this one pitch competition. There were 6 or 7 teams that got up, and one of them you just couldn't understand what his product was, and as a result, he didn't succeed in getting votes. He may have had a very good product, a very good idea, but because there was just no clarity in what he was talking about, it kind of fell flat with the audience. So.
Right. Yeah. You'll be surprised. Some people have asked me whether you need to have, especially faculty ask me whether you need to have a working product or prototype to participate, and I told them, not really. It can be an idea. If it's working, then you're gonna impress people more, but it's not a requirement, right? It can be an idea, a solution to a problem, right? And that's how you're entering the competition. And you can tell the judges, I need money so I can make a prototype. And if your idea is really good, they'll be like, okay, you know what, let's give him money so he can actually make a prototype and prove whether this works or not. If you already developed the prototype and it's working, even better. You'll impress the judges more, but it's not a full requirement. So again, to your point, having a really good idea or product does not guarantee you're gonna win, right? Because you still have to explain it, you still have to, tell the judges how this could be a viable business, right? Because again, this is a business plan competition, right? It's not an engineering competition, it's not a product development competition. So the main thing is, can this great idea or great product, can it be profitable? That's what you're trying to sell to the judges. Can this be profitable?